Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our MLK STEM Day. My name is Dr. Tony Arna McFarland, and I am glad to be here today with Cortechs Robotics. I'm also a part of Cortechs. They are a part of my STEM community as well. And what we're going to do is walk through this presentation. I'm hearing an echo. You guys hear me okay? All right.
Yeah.
There may still be a few people coming in, so I do have to kind of help keep an eye on the chat. And if there's any technical issues, I'll put a number in the chat where you can also send a text. All right, so we are excited to be able to take this time and talk about the life and achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King. And you may say, what does that have to do with STEM? Well, it has a lot to do with STEM. Dr. King was an advocate of education, just social justice for those who have been disadvantaged in so many ways. So this is a slide that gives you a little bit of that background. And I like the quote that says, it seems to me that education has a twofold function to perform in the life of man and in society. The one is utility and the other is culture. Education must enable a man or woman to become more efficient, to achieve with increasing facility the legitimate goals of his or her life. And in today's time, STEM is an area that has a demand, an increasing demand, and we want to make sure that everyone is aware that there is equal access and opportunity for you in STEM. And we are two organizations that help with that. Next slide, Eric. I'm going to ask my counterpart here, Ms. Sandra Brendis. She's Executive Director of Cortechs. If she wants to chime in and talk a little bit about STEM and what it means to Cortechs Robotics.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So my role in Cortechs is pretty much to be a mentor. So when high school students on the team have a question or a problem they're working through, they come to me and we work on it together. So when I think about STEM, I think it's all about being curious, asking questions, working through trying to find those answers, and then when you learn something to share it or do things to change the world. And that's why I kind of am excited combining Dr. Martin Luther King Day with STEM, because he was all about making changes in the world, and being part of STEM is about making changes in the world, no matter how small or big. So even if you're 5 years old or 15 years old, STEM is all about being curious and asking questions and learning and reading, and then finding ways on how you can share what you learn with everybody else.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. McFarland and Ms. Brennis. I guess this leads us into basically who Cortechs is. I'll introduce myself first. So my name is Eric, and I'm a member of Cortechs. So we are a community high school robotics team in the Cary area, and this team was founded in 2014. Normally, outside of the pandemic, we'd usually work on building and programming 120-pound robots in just a 6-week build season period. Aside from that, though, we really love spreading STEM in our community. So this is an example of one of our events. Cortechs is part of an organization called FIRST, F-I-R-S-T. That's an acronym for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. It's a global organization that they basically made a pathway ranging from 5-year-olds to high schoolers. And it was developed to make STEM an exciting sport of the mind. So just like football. A lot of our members actually began with first Lego League, just making tiny little robots with Legos, and now they're building competition robots as part of the first robotics competition. So for any of the, I guess, pre-high schoolers or high schoolers that are interested in becoming part of or possibly initiating an FRC team, please just reach out to us. Our email is here, cortechsrobotics@gmail.com. And I'll hand it off to Ms. McFarland to talk about NSBE.
So NSBE was founded in 1975 at Purdue University. It stands for the National Society of Black Engineers. And it is an engineering professional society with approximately 300 chapters. Anyone is able to join. The mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. We have a chapter in the Raleigh-Durham Chapel area called the Research Triangle Professionals, and we've also launched a NSBE Junior chapter, which some of the members today will share some of the things they've been doing.
I think up next is a video, so I'll show this.
Hi, my name is Tony Arna McFarland. I'm the chapter president of RTP NSBE. This month, we're taking a walk for education. AWFE, as it is called, is a signature program of NSBE. The intent is to bring awareness to education and its possibilities to those who may not normally have access to this information. So, typically you would take brochures, content about various colleges, requirements for testing, door to door to the community. However, we're not able to do that right now. So we're going to do it on social media. And you can walk with us and follow us at #RTPAWFE. Next up, some of our NSBE Junior members are going to express why education is important to them. Let's take a listen.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaylin Coleman. I am a senior at Wakefield High School, and education is important to me because it gives people multiple chances. There's always something new to learn towards education, and not only does it give people second chances, but it gives people multiple chances to discover new ideas, methods, and discoveries. I want to go to college to study BME, which is biomedical engineering. I want to be a businesswoman and in biotechnology, and also find new medical discoveries in the STEM or STEAM arena.
My name is Andre Wright. I'm a graduating senior at Lisa Road High School. Education is important to me because I love to learn new things to pursue my career goals. I want to go to college and study mechanical engineering, so I'm becoming a mechanical engineer. And I want this job because I love math, science, and critical thinking. I think this career best suits for me.
Hello, my name is Breland, and I'm a freshman at Wake Early College of Health and Science. Education is important to me because it will define my future and prepare me for my future career. I want to go to college and study pre-med so I can become a surgeon, and I want to become a surgeon to help other people.
My name is Jairus Cook, and I'm a sophomore at Ravenscroft. Education is important to me because it allows me to create my own path in the future. I want to go to college and study mechanical engineering so that I can become an automotive engineer. I want to do this so I can improve on cars that run on renewable energy sources, such as solar power and hydrogen.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Winston II, and I attend New Christian Academy, or short for NCA. And education is important to me because it's one of the things that gets you a better chance of getting a higher paying job. And also, once you have education or knowledge, no one can take that away from you. When I grow up, I want to be an engineer. That's because I love building and reconstructing new things. I also like coding.
My name is Charlie. I attend Carver Elementary School. Education is important to me because you learn and become a teacher because I can teach people what I learned when I was small.
My name is LeVar Brandon. I am a 6th grader at East Garden Middle School. Education is important to me because you need an education to be successful in life. My favorite classes are math and science. I want to be an engineer because I like to build stuff.
Thank you, Eric. I have an echo. I'm trying to figure out what that is. So in a moment, if you still hear it, I may have to log out and get back in.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks, Mr. Front. So yeah, that was a really quick introduction about like this event and Cortechs and NSBE. So our next section is about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Before we get started though, we have a Google Jamboard where we'll be asking you, what word do you think of when you hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? So Avi, do you think you could send out the link in the chat, please? So I'll stop screen sharing and go to that Jamboard really quick. So here's our Jamboard. If you guys want to put a word, for example, when I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think of equality. So I'll put a sticky note here, equality, and let's put our name here as well. So my name is Eric, so I'll put it there. And let's wait like 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to get their word in. So in order to add a sticky note, there's a button on your left-hand side bar. It looks kind of like a sticky note. So if you were to press it, then it would come up with the box, and then you can write whatever you want in there.
These are some really good answers.
Yeah. Move these apart a little bit. Yeah, these are really good. I'll just start reading through them. I don't think there's anything in the other slides. Mentor, yeah, definitely. Now he was hardworking. He was a pioneer in civil rights, definitely. He was inspirational, selfless. He inspired equality. He was a great leader. And he was really good at giving speeches. And we'll actually be visiting one of his speeches today in this presentation. Freedom, definitely. That's definitely one of the things connected to Dr. King. He was very brave. And I see Rohan and Harshal, you guys put the same thing. That's good. He was a very dedicated figure. He was a leader and nonviolent. Yeah, those are definitely all very important things when relating to Dr. King. I'll check if there's anything on the other slides, which it doesn't seem to be clear. There's not. Great. Yeah, thank you everyone for participating in this. I think those are some really good terms, as Mr. Farland mentioned as well. And I see someone put civil rights activists. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, and thanks, Lightning. Determination is definitely, Dr. King was very determined to make positive change. Okay, I'll move back to the presentation now. If you guys have anything else to add, I think let's put it in the chat and then we can come back to it in just a little bit. All right, and then I'll hand off the presentation to Ryan. He's actually one of the first year members of our team. So
yeah, so about Dr. King, he was born in January 15th, 1929. He was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. He was one of the only two Americans to have their birthdays observed as a national holiday. He was a leader in the civil rights movement, and he led the March on Washington in August 28 of 1963. He was in prison nearly 30 times to his protests. Dr. King organized and promoted nonviolent protests to fight racial inequality. His most famous speech is "I Have a Dream." He also led the Montgomery bus boycott, and he received a Nobel Peace Prize in 1964.
all right, thanks, Ryan. So next we have a medium-length video about Dr. King. So I hope you guys enjoy that.
Let's learn about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American preacher, humanitarian, and activist who is best known for his role in the African American civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. Dr. King, who was inspired by his faith and the peaceful teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, is considered one of history's greatest champions of nonviolence. He used the power of his words, as well as peaceful demonstrations such as protests, sit-ins, and boycotts, in an effort to achieve equality for all people. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is a true American hero. Let's learn more about his life and how he inspired a nation and the world to become more tolerant and accepting of all citizens, regardless of race, class, or gender. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on Tuesday, January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia at 12 p.m. His name at birth was Michael King. His father, also named Michael, changed both their names to Martin Luther in honor of the world-renowned German reformer of the same name. Martin Jr. was a middle child. He had an older sister named Willie Christine King and a younger brother named Alfred Daniel Williams King. Martin Jr. attended Booker T. Washington High School and was so smart he skipped both the 9th and 12th grades. He enrolled in Morehouse College at age 15 without formally graduating from high school. During his final semester at Morehouse College, Martin was ordained as a minister. He also took his first steps towards being an activist by writing a letter to the editor of the Atlanta Constitution. In the letter, he declared that African Americans were entitled to the basic rights and opportunities of American citizens. After graduating from Morehouse, Martin attended Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania from 1948 until 1951. Martin then began his doctoral studies at Boston University. During this time, he began to draw from his education, his faith, and his natural verbal ability to form the foundation for what would become his critical role in the civil rights movement. While in Boston, Martin met and dated Coretta Scott, who was a student at the New England Conservatory of Music. On June 18, 1953, they were married in Alabama, where Coretta's family lived. Martin and Coretta became the parents of 4 children: Yolanda King, Martin Luther King III, Dexter Scott King, and Bernice King. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give her seat to a white person on a crowded bus in Montgomery, Alabama, a city known for its segregated public spaces. That night, Martin met with other activists to plan a citywide protest that would become known as the Montgomery Bus Boycott. The boycott lasted over 380 days. During this time, Martin was arrested and harassed by people who did not want the changes he was fighting to bring about. The boycott, however, was a success. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that racial segregation in transportation was unconstitutional. Martin's role in the boycott transformed him into a national figure and the best-known spokesman of the civil rights movement. In the wake of the boycott victory, civil rights leaders recognized the need for a national organization to better coordinate their efforts. In January of 1957, Martin and roughly 60 other ministers and activists founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or the SCLC. With Martin as president, the SCLC helped conduct nonviolent protests and demonstrations across the South to promote civil rights reform. A primary focus for the organization was registering African Americans to vote. The SCLC sponsored mass meetings in key Southern cities for that purpose. In 1963, Martin led a coalition of several civil rights groups in a nonviolent campaign aimed at Birmingham, Alabama, which was at that time described as the most segregated city in America. The nation was shocked to see images of young African Americans attacked by police dogs and high-pressure fire hoses displayed on television, newspapers, and magazines. It was during this campaign that Martin wrote his now famous Letter from a Birmingham Jail after being arrested again for his participation in the demonstrations. Later in 1963, Martin was one of the driving forces behind the March for Jobs and Freedom, more commonly known as the March on Washington. On August 28, 1963, over 250,000 people of all ethnicities gathered at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. to demand justice and equality for all people. It was here that Martin made his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Delivered from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, this speech inspired the nation and is now considered one of the greatest in American history. Martin was later named Time magazine's Man of the Year. This further cemented his status as the nation's foremost social change leader. In 1964, at 35 years old, Martin became the youngest person ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize. When he found out that he had been selected, he promised to donate the prize money, over $54,000, to help continue the important work of the civil rights movement. He delivered another powerful speech when he accepted his award that was both moving and motivational. Also in 1964, partly due to the March on Washington and Martin's speech, Congress passed the landmark Civil Rights Act. This legislation made it illegal to discriminate against people because of their race. The Jim Crow rules of the South that promoted segregation and the harsh mistreatment of African Americans were now against federal law. This was one of the greatest accomplishments for the civil rights movement. In March of 1965, Martin led a march from Selma to the Capitol building in Montgomery, Alabama, to urge President Lyndon B. Johnson and his administration to pass a law protecting the rights of African American voters. At the conclusion of the march, Martin gave another powerful speech that helped rally more supporters. That same year, Congress went on to pass the Voting Rights Act that eliminated the remaining barriers to voting for African Americans. Prior to this legislation, there were still areas in which African Americans were completely disenfranchised, meaning they did not have the right to vote. Over the next 3 years, Martin's focus shifted from racial discrimination to economic injustice and international peace. He led campaigns in Chicago, Illinois, and spoke strongly against the Vietnam War. Martin's opposition to the war cost him support among white allies, including the president, union leaders, and publishers. Martin and the SCLC also organized the Poor People's Campaign in 1968 in an effort to assemble a multiracial coalition of poor Americans who would advocate for economic change. On April 4th, 1968, Martin was shot while standing on the balcony outside of his hotel room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. At 7:05 p.m., Martin was pronounced dead at St. Joseph's Hospital. He was 39 years old. Martin was buried in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. changed the course of American history. He worked tirelessly to ensure that all people, regardless of race, religion, or national origin, had equal opportunities and could live their lives without fear of violence and discrimination. Martin is regarded as America's greatest human rights advocate. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill creating a federal holiday honoring Martin. The holiday, observed on the third Monday of January each year, is called Martin Luther King Jr. Day, or MLK Day. In the year 2000, it was officially observed by all 50 states for the first time.
All right, that was a cool quick video. I just played again. Yep. So next up is another quick video. This is a excerpt of Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech while at his March on Washington.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream.
Awesome. So next we have some slides about Dr. King and education.
Hi, my name is Arshi Mahajan. I'm a sophomore at Raleigh Charter High School, and this is my second year on Cortechs. So Dr. King was a strong supporter of education. He attended college at the age of 15. And he received his PhD at Boston University at the age of 25. He advocated for educational equity. Does anyone know what equity means? You can put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Well, equity, yes. So everyone in the chat is saying it essentially means equality. Which is very true. They're very similar. But the main difference is that while equality means that everyone gets the same things, equity means that people are able to get to the same outcome. Next slide, please. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a National Day of Service, which means that you should give back to the community, which means that you should think about others rather than yourself, reach out and help others, and a day on, not a day off.
All right, thanks, Archie. Our next part is a little bit using our prior knowledge with both the slides and the stuff you know from before. So we're going to have an online Kahoot game. So Drew, if you want to get that started, and if you could send the code in the chat. So if everyone could go to a new tab and go to the website Kahoot. Actually, I'll spell that out. KAHOOT.IT, and I think I can hyperlink it here. So it's in the chat. So if you could click on that, and then it'll ask for a code, which Drew.
Yeah, I'm sending that right now.
Awesome, thank you.
Right now.
So families, if you guys are like in a group, then please play together, and yeah, let's see who can get the highest score. So if you haven't heard of Kahoot before, it's like a really quick online quiz thing. I don't think I can like show it that well right now, but it's basically a multiple choice type thing. There's going to be 4 colored squares. There's like red, green, blue, and yellow, I think. And they correspond to different answer choices. And I'll let Drew screen share in a little bit once we are about to get started, but there will be a question on the screen, and then you'll try to pick the answer. If you pick it faster, then you get more points. So it'll be a race of speed and accuracy.
Eric, can I also use the app? Is that the same?
Yes, both of them do the same thing.
App, is that the same?
So we have around 9 people. We're just waiting on a little bit more. 9 people. We're just waiting on a little bit more.
Yeah, I tried to load the app, and I'm just going to do it on the computer because it's taking too long.
Cortechs members, if you guys want to, sorry, if you guys want to join as well, then please do. And Drew, once I stop screen sharing, let me know if you can screen share.
We'll get 1 more minute and then we'll start the game. So this game is basically like a review of what we just presented from the slides. So based on questions, you'll have 4 options, and the best option is the correct answer. So you want to click that button on your screen.
And I think you can join after we start. So
Yeah, the code is still in the Zoom chat, so if ever you get kicked out or anything, you can come back to the game using the same code. Should I start, Eric?
Yeah, I think a bunch of people are here.
Okay, I'll start. So the first question is, when was Martin Luther King Jr. born? Okay, nice. Most of us got January 15th, 1929. Nice job, Andrew. Nice job, Ayush. Nice job, Paris. Nice job, Raghav, and nice job, Evan.
So the next question is, in what city was Martin Luther King Jr. born? All right, most of us got it. It was Atlanta. Good job, Ayush, Andrew, Jarius, Raghav, and Davis.
What was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth name? Nice, almost all correct. Yes, it is Michael. Nice job, Andrew. Nice job, Darius. Nice job, Ayush. Nice job, Raghav. Nice job, Miss Tony.
So how old was Martin Luther King Jr. when he graduated high school? 15, 17, 13, or 19? It was 15. Most of us got that right. Good job, Andrew, Jarius, Raghav, Ayush, and
Which two universities/colleges did Martin Luther King Jr. attend? Boston University and Howard University, Tuskegee University and Xavier University, Tuskegee University and Morehouse College, or Boston University and Morehouse College? Ooh, this one was a little bit tricky one, but the correct answer is Boston University and Morehouse College. Nice job, Ayush. Nice job, Jairus. Nice job, Lightning. Nice job, Miss Tony, and nice job, Andrew.
so what subject did Martin Luther King Jr. study in college? Economics, sociology, chemistry, or philosophy? It was sociology. That one was kind of split. Good job, Ayush. Good job, Jairus. Good job, Lightning. Good job, Miss Tony, and the 3 Bs.
What did Martin Luther King Jr. become after he graduated college? A school teacher, a firefighter, a minister, or a banker? Nice job. We almost all got it right. Yes, Martin Luther King Jr. became a minister after he graduated college. Nice job, Jairus. Nice job, Lightning. Nice job, Ayush. Nice job, Miss Tony. And nice job, 3 Bs.
So who inspired Martin Luther King Jr.'s belief in nonviolent activism? Nice, most of us got that right. It was Mohandas Gandhi. Good job, Jairus, Lightning, Miss Tony, Ayush, and Cheyenne.
Which woman helped start the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King Jr. by not giving up her bus seat? Daisy Bates, Rosa Parks, Ella Baker, or Dorothy Height? Nice job. We all got Rosa Parks, which is the correct answer. Good job, Jairus. Good job, Lightning. Good job, Miss Tony. Good job, Ayush. And good job, Cheyenne.
So what historic movement did Martin Luther King Jr. lead in Montgomery, Alabama? Was it a boycott of goods sold at convenience stores, a demonstration outside of Montgomery Elementary School, a demonstration outside of Birmingham City Hall, or a boycott of city buses? Nice, almost everyone got that one right.
When did Martin Luther King Jr. give his famous I Have a Dream speech? During the Selma to Montgomery marches, during the Poor People's Campaign of 1968, during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, or during the Chicago Freedom Movement? Okay, most of us got it right. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
Where did Martin Luther King Jr. give his I Have a Dream speech? At the Lincoln Memorial, at the Statue of Liberty, at the White House, or at the Bunker Hill Monument? It was at the Lincoln Memorial. Good job, Lightning, with 12 answers in a row.
So approximately how many people attended the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom? 100,000, 250,000, 300,000, or 500,000? Good job. Most of us got this right. The answer was 250,000 people attended the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. What was the name of Martin Luther King Jr.'s last speech? I have been to the mountaintop, I have a dream, after Vietnam, or a direct action? So his last speech was called I Have Been to the Mountaintop. These answers were pretty split. So nice job, Lightning.
True or false? Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. Nice. Almost everyone got that one right as well. It was true.
Martin Luther King Jr. received the Nobel Peace Prize because of his work as a reverend, accomplishments in college, nonviolent campaign against racism, or none of the above. Okay, most of us got it right. He received the Nobel Peace Prize because of his nonviolent campaign against racism.
This one's another true or false. At the time, Martin Luther King Jr. was the youngest person to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. Is that true or false? And this one was true.
So, what was Martin Luther King Jr. named by Time Magazine? Man of the Decade, Man of the Month, Man of the Century, or Man of the Year? Correct answer was Man of the Year, and most of us got it right, so good job.
So which U.S. president signed Martin Luther King's holiday into law in 1983? President Bill Clinton, President Ronald Reagan, President George Bush, or President Jimmy Carter? And this one was President Ronald Reagan. Most of us got that one right.
So this is the final question. In what year was the holiday officially observed in all 50 states? The holiday being MLK Day. 2000, 1983, 2006, or 1994? Most of us got it right, but it was a split. The correct answer was 2000. So in 2000, the holiday was officially observed in all 50 states of the United States. So here we have the podium. In third place, we have Miss Tony. Congrats, Miss Tony. In second place, we have Lightning, got 20 out of 20. And then in first place, we got Dyrus, nice job. And then the runners-up in fourth place is the 3Bs, and then fifth place is Davis. So nice job for everyone who participated. I hope you found this really fun.
Awesome. Thanks to Dhruv and Rohan for putting that together. And yep. All right. I won't start screen sharing again because it's one slide. But up next is our speaker, Mr. Mel Pettis. So thank you so much, Mr. Pettis, for being able to make it today. And then I'll hand it off to Ms. McFarland.
Yes, I'm going to do an introduction really quick here on Mr. Pettis. I'm going to share my screen. So I had the opportunity to get to know Mr. Pettis because I worked with his son at John Deere, and got to know Mr. Pettis probably in, I would say, the early 2000s. Started working in John Deere in 1998. However, over time, I got to know more about his life. He was a retiree from John Deere. Like I said, his son worked at John Deere, his son Alan Pettis. He has retired since. But in February of 2019, I had the opportunity to be on a committee to plan our enterprise Black History program for the corporation. So at the corporate office, every year we have an event. This year, of course, it will be virtual. And we were able to invite some of our retirees back to talk to us about their involvement in the history of John Deere as Black employees. So it was very honorable to get to hear more about his journey at this level. I'd also got a chance to know his wife, Miss Sherry Pettis. She's passed, but she had collected information on him in a scrapbook over many years. And I'm sure he'll mention that. And we wanted that at some point to become a book because he really laid the foundation for diversity and inclusion at John Deere. I won't go into all the detail. I'll let him tell that. But he was a part of the community organization and activity in the Quad Cities area of Illinois, which is where John Deere is located. The headquarters is located in Moline, Illinois. And he worked there as one of the early employees, and was the first Black person to work outside of the factory floor. So because of him, me and all the other Black employees have an opportunity to be a part of the company and bring our gifts, talents, and skills. And with that, I'll just ask him to come on up. I do have some slides from that. This is a picture of that event. Most of the people were dialing in. I think there was probably, I don't know, 400 or 500 people listening over the phone, maybe more than that. So this was an event that was accessible around the world, and we filmed it live. And this is at the main auditorium in the corporate office in Moline, Illinois. And so we kind of had like a fireside chat. And I'd like Mr. Pettis to talk today because he knew Dr. King. He had a chance to meet him and his involvement. To Mr. Pettis, if you want to go ahead and come off of mute and you can you can go ahead and chime in here. He was involved in integrating the community there. I would say desegregating the community, and also making changes at work so that Deere and other companies would kind of take the lead in um, making job opportunities and not discriminating against people based on the color of their skin. So this was a time when that was not, it was not a common practice for everyone to have equity in workplace and in education. So because of the work that he has done and many other, I would say, heroes that we don't know on a national level in the community, you all are able to go to school and learn about people with different backgrounds. You're able to have friends of different ethnicities. You're able to live in a society that still has work to do. However, it's not what it used to be. So, Mr. Pettis, if you want to go ahead and come off mute, I think you're still on mute, and maybe I can get someone to take you off mute. Let's see here. Let me see if I can take you off mute. All right. Mr. Pettis, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay. Let me just make a couple of comments before I start. I'm not really a slouch, but that chair that you had at Deere & Company, every time I sit erect, it slid from the table. So that's the reason why I try to anchor myself there to keep from sliding away from the table. A couple of things right off the bat. I first met Martin Luther King in 1962. And I was at that time on a committee with the UAW, and we had a meeting at the Cowboy Hall in Detroit. And again, that's the first time that we heard "I Have a Dream" speech. And I have a recording of that on LP. Now, the first public for "I Have a Dream" obviously was at the memorial. So I just want to make those two things clear. Martin Luther King, as I say, when we presented him with the Peace and Prosperity Award, and that was sometime later, was just a very gentle, cordial person. I've never seen he had so much intellect about himself, had so much knowledge about what it is he wanted to do, and was so friendly with us. We had a little cocktail party right behind the auditorium there, and spent about 2 hours with him, visiting with him before he boarded the plane going back to Chicago. But what a man, what a man. And I've always said that there were three people in my life that I thought were just remarkable speakers that garnished the attention of whoever he was talking to. And that was Martin Luther King, of course, and then Bill Hewitt, the president and CEO of Deere & Company, and Walter Reuther. And as I say, those three people, when they talk, people listen to them. And so I was really honored to be in a position to do those things and listen to those things. Young people today, you have a very challenging time in your lifetime, even though you should continue with your education, but the education really don't get you where you need to go. You have to have leadership within the community, leadership within the companies. One of the things I like about Deere & Company, being one of the first companies who reached out for minorities and give them an opportunity, unless you have the leadership at the top, corporations, your education won't get you there. You have to have someone inside those corporations who believe in equality, and that's most important. So education and equal opportunity is the thing that will get you further in your lifetime. Tony, I just want to congratulate you on how you put these programs together and getting all these different young people with different backgrounds and nationalities. Keep doing your work, because that's most important. And for the young people, you have to continue to integrate yourself with, I noticed all the different nationalities that are present in this conference, and I think that's admirable. But you have to link together, make sure you continue to push for equality. We're coming out of a bad 4 years, and I'm telling you, we need now to get ourselves together and make sure that we get the demands that we need to go, that you need to go, I should say. I didn't mention this, but Martin Luther King and I are the same age. I'm 90 years old. And so I've seen a lot of these things that I think that you need to further pursue on, and to make sure that you have a voice. Don't let anybody silence you from your voice. and from your objectivity, from the things that you want to do and to accomplish, because that's most important. So we have something in the front of you. You have a lot more than I do, but you have something in front of you now to get with this government, new government that's coming on board, making sure that they follow through with some of the objectives. Now we know everyone's going to say, you promised this, you got to do. No, I think you have to take it in turn, and we have to do those things that are most important for you and for your family and for the community and for this country. And so I just trust that you continue to do that. My years in John Deere were good years. I have to say they didn't start, well, they were good years. I started out working very hard with my hands. I worked in the foundry for about 13 years. And when I say the foundry, most of you don't even know what that is, but that was a dirty job that we used to have to do to make the casting, to make those combines that you see that Deere has. But out of that, I decided that I needed to do something better than that. And so the labor union was really my goal. I had a chance to join the union. Union is very important. You don't even hear about it mostly today. But out of that union experience, I ended up being the lead person in our factory of taking the grievances that we had against the company to get them justified. And out of that, I, of course, went to industrial engineering school, coming back as an industrial engineer, and then went into labor relations, where I worked for the rest of my career there. But in doing that, I found that people, just generally people, and mostly middle management people and those above, were the ones that kept us from moving where we wanted to go. And that's another concern I think I have today about this country. I think this country is very, very frightened now of the complexion that the country is taking. This has been a white man's country all of these years. They've had us in slavery, and they held us down and stopped us from promotions and so forth. But as you move more towards equality, they're going to be more threatened. So we don't want to do to them what they did to us. Let's keep in mind that we ought to be a freedom-loving community. We ought to strive the best we can do to raise our families and bring them up so that they love one another. Now, Deere & Company, as I said in this archive, and thank you, Tony, I think I did about 2 hours worth of work in the archive. But just to let Deere & Company know that they hadn't always done the right thing. And so it takes top management people to do the right thing. One of the pictures that I saw there, this fellow by the name of Frank Dickey, who was a vice president of Deere. And really, I think, my own opinion, he did not become the CEO of Deere because of his involvement with the minority relations back in those days. So he did an awful lot. About Chuck Tony, which was a fantastic guy, to bring him on, and he ended up being one of the leaders of recruiting. Now, Chuck and I always had an agreement. He did the recruiting, and I did all of the negotiations of making sure that what he recruited got treated right. And that was a job within itself, because within corporations now, that middle management is the one that always keeps his foot right on your throat to make sure that you only go as far as he wants you to go. So you have to move around those people and get yourself involved in top management people so that they understand what the problems are that you're trying to strive. So you got a difficult job ahead of you. I tell you, as I listened to you here for the last hour and a half or so, you got talented people that can reach those objectives. So Tony, keep on them, keep pushing them, and let's hope that your years in the future, you won't have to fight these things that we fought.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pettis. I'm going to see if any of the students have any questions for you. And background. Also, I do have on our Eventbrite page. Let me bring that up real quick. There's a lot of information out here on Mr. Pettis. You can go take a look at it, and I will put it in the chat. But you can go take a look at more information on Mr. Pettis. And there is also a nice article, the John Deere Journal, featuring in January 2019. This this the Payson Intense Peace and Freedom Award ceremony, and this still takes place to today. So, students, do you have any questions for Mr. Pettis on his involvement or his time with Dr. King? If so, you can put them in the chat, and we'll take a couple of minutes, and then we'll move on with the program. And Eric, if you see some questions in the chat, please let me know.
Yeah, I'll read them out as they come.
Okay. And while Eric is doing that, I have one I'll ask you, Mr. Pettis. Do you recall, I guess, how you felt or your first thoughts when you heard that Dr. King was assassinated?
Well, I was coming from one of our factories, going back to my office at the General Company on Fifth Avenue in Moline at about at 2:30, 3 o'clock or so. And the news flash come on, and I just had to pull my car off to the side and cry. Even though I knew that the territory he was moving into, because you see, Dr. King had moved from the total civil rights movement into this garbage dispute in Memphis. And I have to tell you, Memphis has always been a terrible city in the state of Tennessee for race relations. And so most of us were very curious and afraid for him being in that situation. So while I expected danger to come to him, it just shocked me to know that someone had shot him. So it was terrible. We had I had a building in Rock Island, Illinois, and when that time come and people begin to burn up everything, and that was another real frightening thing. People talk about all the riots and things that we have going on. We've always had those kinds of situations. And I can remember this building that I had in the Black community. Some people had decided they were going to burn this building down. And some guys were standing on the corner and said, "What are you doing?" They said, "Well, they thought it was a Jewish building. We're going to burn this sucker down." They said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's Mr. Pettis' building." So then they began to protect my property there from that building. But these were just the things that when people did some bad things, other people thought that they had to get out and protect them. So that's similar to what we have going now. And
right. We see that now.
For the next few days is what's going to be happening in Washington and throughout the country.
So we have a question for you. This is from Marquette Russell. It sounds like he wants to know how did you do so many years at John Deere? You started working there in 1948 and you retired in 83.
63. Yeah, I had 63 years at John Deere. Well, the problem that I had wasn't necessarily the problem that young people have today. And because most young people today want to be the president of the company within about 20 years. So they set those kind of goals up. My goal was a very simple goal. Was make a living for my family and retiring. I couldn't wait till the day that I got a chance to retire. But you know, young people today, I doubt if you got 10 years in the company, because when you get 10, you want to go. And I don't know whether it's a money thing or whether it's a.
I'm actually her son.
What was that?
Oh, I think someone might have accidentally came off of a mute.
So it's just and then I love my job. Once I got into labor relations, got out of that handwork stuff, and got into labor, I really love people, because that's what that did. It gives me a chance. Labor relations gives you a chance. You know, I think about all the bad things that they did to us as Black people, and now I'm in a position to straighten them out. So that's one of the reasons I stay with my job.
Okay, and we'll do a couple more, and I'll ask Doug to get ready to do our breakouts after this. This one says, for this generation where everything is on electronics, what do you think people should do to still have an effect on society? So I guess he's saying is, you know, with everything being virtual and we're so digitized, how can people still have an impact on society? Like you were able to be a community organizer, go out into the community, go door to door. How can people do that now?
Yeah, as far as the job market, you know, it's the same. I remember when automation come on board, and people were frightened because we were losing jobs. You know, automation was a tremendous thing. I can remember at the Harvester Works, as an example, we had an assembly line, and we had on that assembly line about 15 spot welders that's welding these big combines together. Well, automation come out to where we could push buttons and get the spot welding. So they laid off about half of the spot welders. So they had to be retrained and do some other kind of jobs. So that's the same thing that you're going to face today with all this technology. I guess most of you now work at home. And so that's a different thing altogether. But somehow we have to create technology so that people can be employed. And we just have to do that. That's up to you young people to figure out a way as to how do we keep people working.
Right, and to continue to have their skills. And so I guess to answer the question, you can make an effect on society by keeping your skills relevant and staying involved in the community.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I'll see if there's maybe one more question and then we'll move on. Are there any other questions for Mr. Pettis? I do have one I want to just mention because I know about this. You were able to travel with Dr. King between Moline and Chicago. I think you had a flight with him. What was that like?
Well, I didn't. I traveled with him from the site of the meeting.
Right.
But nice. Just as I say, a very soft-spoken person. He reminded me a lot of people who don't like to talk about their jobs when they're not doing their jobs. He just like to talk about the community. How do you like the community? How long you been in the community? And those kinds of things. Not necessarily plotting out what his next move was going to be or how he was going to handle that. So just a general person. That's all.
Okay. Excellent. And what would you say is one thing that, based on the way things are going in the world today and in our nation today, how similar is that to what you saw during the civil rights movement? Do you think it's I'll stop there. What do you think?
Very similar. Very. The only difference between my coming up with the problem was always black on white. Now I see more white people are involved in it, so it gets to be more. I don't know whether it's a structural problem or I'm not sure how you. I don't think it's all political either. I think it's more of a question of maybe the have and the have-nots. And of course,
economic.
But that points move too. You see, because now we're talking about the haves or the have-nots. I'm talking about being $75,000, $80,000 a year. Well, I guess you have to equate that to what $15,000, $20,000 a year when I come up. But I think it's a social problem, the have and the have-nots. But we have to somehow get ourselves together. Rich people want to keep being rich, and they just don't want to give up. I just can't. And this has to do with black and white as well. I always say these baseball players, basketball players, or whatever. I'm signing contracts for $40-50 million. Come on, give me a break. Now you can't tell them they don't need it or deserve it, but that's an awful lot of money for anybody. I don't care whether you play basketball or whether you run a corporation. $50 or $60 million a year is a lot of money. So somehow we have to break that barrier between the haves having so much and the have-nots having nothing. So that's a challenge.
So getting more equity, it sounds like, figuring out and having people who have it, I guess having the compassion to help others.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. Mr. Pettis, if you don't mind, please stick around. I'm going to turn everything back over to Eric.
Yes. But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And thank you for coming, Mr. Pettis. It's always a pleasure to hear your perspective at 90 years old. And I think you'll be 91 this year, right?
Yeah. No. I'm 91 now.
91. You'll be 92 this year.
I'm 91 now. Yes.
Okay, that's right. You'll be 92 this year. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. All right, Eric, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Pettis, so much. That was really exciting listening to what you had to say. So
you had some shouts out in the chat too, Mr. Pettis. I don't know if you're seeing it, but people are saying, thank you, Mr. Pettis, sir. Yeah. You're awesome. You're cool. Yeah. I think it's wonderful that Mr. Pettis is using Zoom.
Well, you have to be up, you have to update,
Right.
We're Zooming our church, as a matter of fact.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Right. If you might want to put yourself back on mute because we're going to go back into the program with Eric. All right.
I hope it doesn't echo as much this time. But so I'll just screen share only with audio when it's needed. So, all right, here we go. So our next section is kind of about a little bit more on STEM. So a bunch of our members got together and we recorded a few clips, and we call it 30 seconds of STEM. It's more than 30 seconds long, but it's like 30 seconds per person. So here you go.
Hi everyone, this clip will be about forms of energy and how.
Oh, sorry, can you guys hear it? I think I accidentally mixed it up. My bad.
We can hear it.
I forgot to, oops, yeah, I forgot to click a button. All right, thank you.
Hi everyone, this clip will be about forms of energy and how you can see it in a rubber band. There's two types of energy we can best see in this situation, potential and kinetic energy. Potential energy is stored energy. When I stretch this rubber band, I'm giving it energy, which is stored in the rubber band as potential energy. Once I release this rubber band, that energy turns mostly into kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. So when something moves, it has kinetic energy. I'll let go of the rubber band now. And as you can see, the rubber band quickly releases its potential energy into kinetic energy, which is why it flew out of my hand and into the ground. And here it is.
Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking a little bit about levers, which are a type of simple machine. To do this, I'm going to be using the example of a seesaw, and a seesaw is a great example of a lever because its fulcrum is very easy to see. So the fulcrum is the central point that the seesaw rotates around. So my fulcrum is going to be some boxes, and then I'm going to put a whiteboard on top, and this is our seesaw. So if we were to put a weight on one end of the seesaw all tilts to one side. If we put it on the other, it tilts to the other side. So this is because it's all rotating around the central point or the fulcrum. Hope you learned a little bit about levers and seesaws in this video. Bye.
Let's say we're trying to lift up a really heavy piece of material up from the first floor to the second floor of a building. What we can do is use the power of a lever. So we have the fulcrum, which is the point in the middle, and then we'll be using a spoon. So if we put this material on one side of the lever, and then the eraser on the other side, it did not lift it up. But what we can do is utilize the leverage of the lever by moving the fulcrum up. And this side has more leverage now. So if we put the eraser, which is the same exact weight, and we put it down, it manages to lift it up all the way to the top. And that is the power of the lever.
Welcome to your STEM video, and this is going to be about wheel and axles. So here we have a car, Lightning McQueen to be specific, and this car has 4 wheels, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And so each pair of wheels rotates along what we call an axle, or it's like a little rod, and you can see that's like the metal part right here inside the car. And so the wheels rotate along that, and it's what helps the car move, and if they weren't there, it wouldn't be as efficient.
This is a boat, and the reason why it's floating is because of buoyancy. Buoyancy is a force that pushes the boat upwards, and gravity is a force that pushes the boat downwards. The boat is floating because the energy exerted downwards is less than energy exerting upwards, causing the boat to float.
One of the characteristics of airplanes is that they can take flight. But how does it fly? There are 4 forces that act on an airplane that helps it fly. They include lift, which forces the plane to go in an upward direction, gravity, which forces the plane to go in a downward direction, drag, which forces the plane to go in a backward direction, and thrust, which forces the plane to go in a forward direction. These 4 forces need to be balanced, otherwise the plane would not be able to fly. For example, if gravity and drag are bigger than lift and thrust, the plane would get down. But if all forces are balanced, the plane would be level and will be able to fly.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to briefly explain gravity. Essentially, gravity is the force that one planetary body exerts on the other, and therefore it pulls objects closer to it. So objects with a larger mass have a larger gravity. For example, let's say, this ball has a pretty a small amount of mass, and the planet has a lot of mass. So therefore, when I drop the ball, or when I let go of the ball, it goes down because the gravitational pull of the planet is very high, and therefore it attracts smaller bodies with.
Hi guys, so today I'm going to be talking to you about the water bottle. So, there are a lot of physics that go behind flipping a water bottle, but I'm going to make it a little bit more simple for you guys. When you flip a water bottle, you give it angular momentum, which is just a really fancy word for how much energy a rotating object has. The bottle itself produces this momentum as well when you flip it. The water that goes to the other side has mass that causes a shift in the thing that keeps us grounded to the earth, which is called gravity. Now notice how the bottle with more water, which would be this one, doesn't have enough space to swish around, so it acts more like a solid and doesn't flip as much. Let's try to flip it and not break my table. There. But if I drank some of the water in this one, then you would get the perfect angular momentum to flip it, like this one has. So you probably thought we were done, but no. There's another science-related topic that I'm going to explain about a water bottle. You know the bottle cap, but did you know that it's a mechanism that's a screw, which is a type of simple machine? The screw turns rotational motion into linear motion, which holds the cap and the bottle together. As such. Catch you on the flip side.
Why does this creepy toy car move slower and a shorter distance compared to the same car with one push on a flat wood floor? The answer is friction. Friction is the resistance that an object encounters when moving over another. Because the wood is flat and smooth, the car wheels face less obstacles than on the bumpy, cratery carpet.
Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. And I'll start screen sharing again. So next section is going to be about some of the NSBE junior programs. I think Ms. McFarland will talk a little bit about these.
Yes, I will. Can you guys hear me okay? Excellent. All right. So NSBE Junior has about 40 plus members right now. And we have volunteers from the community and also from the professional chapter helping them learn about STEM and participate in some activities. So we have 6 teams right now that are preparing to participate at our virtual national conference. It's going to take place in April of this year. And a couple of them I'm going to highlight today. This is a list of all the teams that we have. Cortechs has been a great community partner, and they've helped us out several times. And right now we have the Visionaries and Extraordinaries. These are 2 Lego League teams. I don't know if any of those members are on. If you are, just say something in the chat so people will know. But those teams are 1st grade through 5th grade, and they are meeting weekly, doing a Lego League build that they're going to be presenting. We also have our NSBE Junior Explorer Technical Innovation Competition teams. Team Immunity is doing research on COVID-19 vaccine and really focusing in on the traditionally medically underserved and underrepresented communities, as well as the Voyagers. The Voyagers is doing research on earthquakes. That's a middle school team, and Team Immunity is a high school team. Actually, Team Immunity has a survey going on right now. We'll launch it tonight. We're going to be presenting that on Tuesday, January the 19th at our professional chapter meeting, where we're going to be talking about social equity and having an update on COVID-19 in regards to equity and health. So next, I'm going to talk about the math video challenge and the trimathlon team. So you can go to the next slide, Eric. And if we have anyone on from the math video challenge, feel free to put something in the chat, and Eric, just let me know if you see someone saying that they're on from that team. But basically, Cortechs has been helping us with this, helping us run this weekly meetup. We launched these in December, and Math Challenge is a national competition. The students have to identify a math problem and create a video explaining that problem and pulling that together in a very creative way and teaching that concept. So is there anybody on from that? Did anyone chime in and say they wanted to say anything?
I don't think anyone was on.
Okay. All right, so that's the math video challenge, and we'll do the next one. All right, I know Jairus Cook is on. He was participating in the Kahoot. So Jairus, I'll let you chime in and say a few words about the Trimathlon team. It's called, this is the Exponentials. The video team is Imagineers, and this team is called the Exponentials. So Jairus, you can say a few words about this team. I know you've been involved in it. How has it impacted you, and how has it helped you?
Okay, well, I'm Jairus. As Ms. Tony stated, I'm a part of the Trimathlon team, the Exponentials. And it's basic, the team all is basically, you know, just an SAT, ACT quiz bowl for high schoolers that helps to learn the different math subjects that you need for the SAT and or ACT, but in a more interesting way. You can learn it with people. It's a little more interesting than just, you know, working through worksheets on your own, having to do it all on your own. With the system with other people, it kind of helps. And personally, I chose to do this because I plan to take the SAT in March. So I figured why not join the team, help build up my math skills before I go take the SAT. And it like on the slide says, it definitely includes a variety of math topics like algebra, statistics. I mean, as a group, personally as a group, we did have to work on, you know, different things like geometry or a lot of subjects that we, you know, you learn in middle school that don't really pop up that often back in high school, but you're still doing it now. But yeah, we're working hopefully, and we'll have all of that worked out by the time we go to the competition.
Awesome. Thank you, Jairus. And Jairus is also the president of NSBE Junior. All right. Is there anything else, Eric? That might have been the last one.
Ooh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think that's it. Our next section is our breakout rooms. So, I can't access it from here yet, but I don't think I can access it from like the screen sharing menu. But Mr. Davis, if you could get the breakout rooms open for everyone. Elementary schoolers, please go to breakout room A. Archie will be leading a game of Jeopardy there. Middle schoolers, please enter breakout room B. Ayush will be leading you through an hour of code, except it's kind of compressed, so it'll take a half hour. So half hour code. And high schoolers, please join breakout room C, which is where Andrew and Mohit will talk about STEM careers with high schoolers. That's pretty much all I had as well. So I guess I'll just take a moment to thank everyone again for coming. It was really great fun. I hope everyone learned something. And I really had fun today, and I learned something new from especially Mr. Pettis. So it was really great. Thank you, Mr. Pettis. Thank you, Mr. McFarland. And thanks for everyone for coming.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful King weekend, and hopefully you will find something to do on the 18th to continue observing the legacy. Have a great afternoon.